My beloved child, something in the unseen has been shaking the air around you, and Archangel Michael has stepped forward with a message that refuses to wait. His voice echoes like a sword drawn in the spirit realm as he declares, "I rushed into your atmosphere today because on December 4th, someone attempted to spiritually redirect your destiny, and if you don't open this immediately, the consequences will unfold before the night ends." These are not ordinary words. This is not a casual whisper. This is a divine interception, a warning wrapped in mercy, a shield arriving at the very last second before impact. He is showing me a moment, a specific moment, where something shifted around you without your knowledge. A spiritual hand reached toward the path you were meant to walk, trying to bend it, twist it, or interrupt it. You may have felt it as sudden heaviness, strange fatigue, unexplained tension, or a swirl of confusion that didn't match your circumstances. You may have brushed it off, but in the spiritual realm, something was being pulled out of alignment. Archangel Michael is revealing that this interference was intentional, directed, and timed to activate on December 4th, because the enemy saw what God planned to release over your life right after that date. Listen closely, because this is where the revelation sharpens. Archangel Michael says that this attempt to redirect your destiny was not just an attack, it was a strategy. Someone tried to spiritually reroute opportunities that had already been released for you. They attempted to shift the trajectory of your blessings, to distort your favor, to block divine conversations that were supposed to reach your name. You weren't imagining the delay. You weren't imagining the sudden silence. You weren't imagining that certain people pulled back or acted differently without explanation. Something was tampering with the flow. But here is the turning point, the reason you are hearing this message right now. Archangel Michael says he rushed into your atmosphere today because your destiny is time-sensitive. There are doors that must open in this season, alignments that must connect, and breakthroughs that cannot be postponed, not even by a single night. If you ignore this message, he warns, the consequences won't wait until tomorrow morning. They will begin unfolding before the night ends. That is why he is urging you not to scroll away, not to delay, not to dismiss what your spirit is already reacting to. You see, the enemy's plan wasn't simply to derail your path. It was to replace it, to substitute the life God intended for you with something smaller, heavier, slower, and burdened with unnecessary pain. A spiritual redirection doesn't always look like disaster. Sometimes it looks like staying stuck in the same loops. Sometimes it looks like missing the moment that was meant to lift you. Sometimes it looks like losing access to someone whose presence was tied to your destiny. And Michael says this interference was crafted to be subtle enough that you wouldn't detect it until it was too late. But heaven intercepted it. Archangel Michael reveals that when this attempt was made on December 4th, there was an immediate disturbance in your spiritual atmosphere, like a tremor that only angels could sense. He was assigned to confront what was sent against you. And now he is here to hand you the final instruction, because your response determines the outcome. The attack was blocked, but the residue, the lingering influence, must be addressed. If you don't respond, the remnants could still manifest as delay, confusion, or emotional drain before the night ends. He is showing me a moment of divine urgency, a doorway of protection that opens only when your spirit acknowledges the warning. Your awareness activates your covering. Your understanding seals the interruption. Your alignment restores what was tampered with. And that is why you're here, hearing this exact message at this exact time, not earlier, not later. Child of light, there is something else. Archangel Michael says the person behind the spiritual redirection was not a stranger. They were someone who once had access to your energy. Someone whose name your heart would recognize. Whether knowingly or unknowingly, They allowed themselves to become a vessel for spiritual interference. But heaven will reveal their identity to you soon, not through fear, but through clarity. A moment of recognition will strike you, and you will understand exactly who he was referring to. But wait, because we are only at the surface. Archangel Michael says the next revelation will expose why this person acted, what they tried to redirect, and how heaven is about to reverse every single alteration. And trust me, what he is about to unveil next will shift you emotionally and spiritually in ways you are not prepared for. Hold on, something even deeper is coming, and you don't want to miss the next heartbeat of this message. This is the point where everything turns. Dearest soul, breathe for a moment, because as Archangel Michael steps closer, the spiritual noise around you begins to settle. His presence feels like a wall of fire circling your name, and he whispers a truth that pierces deeper than the last message. The moment someone tried to redirect your destiny on December 4th, something sacred around you reacted. Your spirit felt it before your mind understood it. This is why you felt those strange emotions out of nowhere, why a heaviness pressed on you, why your sleep was disturbed, why your thoughts felt tangled for no reason. You were not imagining it. Your inner world was signaling a spiritual interruption. And now, Michael is revealing what was really happening behind the scenes. He shows me a vision of a path, your path, bright and almost golden in the spirit realm. This path represented the opportunities set before you, the divine meetings, the conversations, the breakthroughs hovering near your timeline. But on December 4th, something or someone attempted to reach into this path and shift it inches off course. Not enough for you to notice right away, but enough to create long-term delays if left unaddressed. This was not a minor interference. This was a calculated spiritual strategy designed to redirect what was rightfully yours. Listen carefully here. Archangel Michael says the person behind this interference acted out of a mix of jealousy, insecurity, and silent resentment. This was someone who had observed your resilience, your growth, your favor, and somewhere inside them, it triggered something dark. They didn't need to speak against you out loud. They didn't need to perform anything dramatic. Sometimes the most dangerous spiritual redirections come from silent intentions, hidden emotions, or quiet agreements made out of fear, envy, or bitterness. Michael says they did not understand the weight of the spirit realm. They did not know their agreement would touch your destiny. This is where heaven's intervention becomes breathtaking. When the attempt was made, there was an immediate clash in the unseen, a collision between darkness and the protection assigned to you. The enemy wanted the redirection to go undetected, silent and smooth. But the moment your spirit felt the interference, it sent out a spiritual distress signal. And Archangel Michael, who has been assigned to your destiny for years, responded instantly. He rushed into your atmosphere, not because you were weak, but because your calling carries weight in the kingdom. You matter more than you realize. And now he is uncovering the deeper truth. This interference wasn't about your present. It was aimed at your future. There is something coming in your life that is spiritually significant, an opportunity, a relationship, a shift, or a door that heaven refuses to let you miss. This is why the enemy tried to redirect your destiny before the night ended. Because the blessing hovering above you has a timeline attached to it. The next few steps of your life require you to be aligned, protected, and spiritually awake. Archangel Michael is showing me a ripple, like a wave of energy that tries to shift everything attached to your future blessings. He says if he hadn't intervened, you would have experienced delayed opportunities, emotional confusion, sudden setbacks, misalignment in relationships, or missing a divine connection. Entirely not because you were meant to suffer, but because someone interfered with what was meant for you. But child, everything changes now. Archangel Michael says the interference has been halted, but the residue needs clearing through awareness. That is why this message found you. Your understanding activates the final layer of protection. Awareness is spiritual armor. And as he speaks, he is placing something over your life, almost like a shield made of light that seals the areas that were tampered with. He warns, however, that the identity of the person behind the spiritual redirection will soon become clearer to you. Their actions may slip. Their energy may expose them. Their patterns may reveal their true intentions. Not for revenge, not for bitterness, but for discernment. Heaven wants you aligned only with those who stand for you, not those who secretly weaken your atmosphere. There is something else, something urgent. Michael says your destiny is entering a season where every decision matters. Every alignment matters. Every step matters. This is not a season of casual choices. It is a season of spiritual precision. And heaven is preparing you for something monumental. Before I reveal what Archangel Michael is preparing you for, he is urging you to stay right here and not drift away. The next revelation will uncover the purpose behind the attack, why your destiny is so important, and what God is about to release as a response. Trust me if you thought the last message was intense. What comes next is deeper, sharper, and absolutely crucial for your journey. Hold your focus as this unfolds. You'll thank yourself for staying connected, because the next unveiling carries the key to reversing every attempt made against you. Precious one, as the spiritual veil thins even further, Archangel Michael steps forward with a deeper revelation that vibrates through your atmosphere like thunder traveling through the soul. He says, you must understand what December 4th truly activated. It wasn't just an attempt to redirect your destiny. It was an attempt to intercept the season you were finally stepping into. Your life has been shifting, even in ways you haven't fully recognized. You've been moving out of an old cycle, out of old emotional patterns, out of old limitations, and stepping into a new spiritual timeline that carries breakthroughs you've prayed for. The shift didn't go unnoticed in the spirit. The enemy saw where you were heading before you did, and that is exactly why the interference happened when it did. But God assigned Michael to intervene before the damage could root itself deeply. Michael is revealing that the attempt made on December 4th created a vibration around your destiny that might have caused you to feel unsettled or drained. Even if life looked calm on the outside, spiritually, something felt off. You may have noticed sudden tension, unusual disagreements, unexpected disappointments, or moments where your confidence felt shaken. This was not a coincidence. It was the residue of that attempted redirection brushing against your energy field. Your spirit sensed instability because the enemy tried to bend the spiritual structures that were aligning in your favor. But as Michael speaks now, he makes it clear that the alignment is being restored. Heaven is resetting what was tampered with, putting back what was shifted, and sealing what was left exposed. He is also revealing something many people overlook. Spiritual redirections often begin subtly. They start with small emotional shifts that feel unexplainable. They begin with tiny delays, awkward conversations, sudden doubts, or thoughts that try to push you off the path you were meant to walk. They don't usually appear as dramatic disasters. Instead, they mask themselves as everyday inconveniences that slowly pull a person away from their blessings. That is why Archangel Michael had to step in quickly. You were too close to a breakthrough. The enemy didn't want to destroy your life. He wanted to distort your alignment. Because if he could throw you just a little off track, you would miss the divine unfolding that was meant to come into your hands. Michael is showing me that the blessing schedule for your life is time-sensitive. Certain opportunities, conversations, connections, and breakthroughs that belong to your next chapter have already been released. They are not pending. They are not waiting for approval. They are already on their way to you, carried by divine timing. But if your spiritual alignment had been redirected, those blessings would have arrived at the wrong version of you, the version the enemy wanted to create. Tired, unfocused, confused, or emotionally drained. That is why heaven acted so urgently. The divine cannot allow blessings to land in misalignment. So Michael rushed into your atmosphere to correct the timeline before consequences reached your night. And now he is revealing the deeper truth you need to hear. The person whose energy contributed to the attempted redirection is someone whose presence has been lingering in your life longer than it was meant to. They hold thoughts, emotions, or intentions about you that have quietly interfered with your spiritual clarity. They may not even understand the spiritual weight of their actions, but heaven sees the root behind their intentions. Archangel Michael says this person's influence around your life has been weakening your atmosphere for months, but December 4th was the moment it crossed a spiritual line. That is why he intervened so intensely. Your destiny was being pushed out of alignment through a channel the enemy should never have been able to access. And now, heaven will reveal who this person is, not through drama, but through recognition. Your spirit will know them when your eyes meet the truth. Michael is positioning you for something much greater than protection. He is preparing you for restoration. Everything that was touched, everything that was shifted, everything that was momentarily redirected is being reset. Your path is being corrected. Your blessings are being reclaimed. Your atmosphere is being purified. And you are stepping back into the spiritual timeline that belongs to your destiny. But he wants you to stay connected as he reveals the next layer, because the next message carries the reason why your destiny was targeted so fiercely. It holds the key to understanding the magnitude of the blessing that is approaching your life. Before moving forward, pause for a moment and steady your spirit. The next revelation will answer questions you've carried in silence for a long time. And trust me, you will not want to miss what unfolds next. This is the moment where the message begins to transform everything you thought you understood about your future. Keep your heart open, because the next unveiling will be powerful. If this is speaking directly to your spirit, type "I step into restoration" in the comments. Blessing code 993 is now released to seal this part of the message. If this message is awakening something in you, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, and spread this prophetic warning so others can be covered before their night ends. And before we continue deeper, hear this gentle yet urgent invitation. Just as this message is protecting your destiny, there are countless others who need the same covering, but may never hear it unless someone helps carry the light forward. When you sow into this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or through the PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a channel. You are releasing spiritual oil that allows these warnings, these teachings, and these divine revelations to reach those standing on the edge of breakthrough. God says that every seed becomes a light in someone's darkness. Every offering becomes a shield for a soul that cannot fight alone. I am inviting you personally now, just as heaven invites the willing. Step into this moment with purpose, because your support becomes a prophetic act that heaven recognizes. As you sow, I declare an open heaven blessing over your household. Move now, and let your obedience speak louder than doubt. Beloved heart, take a slow breath, because what Archangel Michael is releasing now enters a deeper layer of truth, one that touches the very architecture of your destiny. He steps closer with a presence so intense it feels like the atmosphere around you shifts, and he says, what you survived on December 4th was not random. It was a reaction to what heaven had already written for you. This means the interference you faced was not because you were weak, but because your future is stronger, brighter, and more divinely purposed than you have ever imagined. The enemy never attacks what has no value. The enemy never redirects what has no potential. The enemy never interferes with the timeline that poses no threat. You were targeted because your life carries impact. Michael is revealing that you have recently crossed a spiritual threshold without even realizing it. There was a moment, quiet, subtle, unseen, where your spirit leveled up. Something in you matured, awakened, or expanded. Heaven noticed it. The enemy noticed it, and the spiritual realm reacted to it. This shift, this elevation, positioned you for a new chapter that carries greater authority. But with greater authority comes greater attention from forces that want you silent, stagnant, or stuck. That is why the interference on December 4th was so precise. It wasn't meant to create destruction. It was meant to create detours. A detour may seem harmless, but spiritually, it reshapes the entire timeline of your destiny. Archangel Michael now shows me a spiritual blueprint, like a map with pathways, intersections, and windows of divine timing. Within this blueprint, I see several glowing points, each representing a breakthrough that was scheduled to unfold in your life. One of these points is extremely close, closer than you realized, and this is the one the enemy was attempting to distort. Heaven had already prepared a blessing for you, something that would affect your emotional stability, your financial alignment, your relationships, or your spiritual clarity. This blessing has already been set in motion, and its arrival was so near that the enemy panicked. That panic is what fueled the interference. Michael says, you were on the verge of stepping into a divine appointment. This could be a reconnection, a revelation, a career shift, a door that finally opens, or a moment that reconnects you with your purpose. Whatever it is, it carries weight. It carries calling. It carries transformation. It is tied to the future version of you that heaven has been shaping. And because of that, the enemy tried to reroute your energy, your emotions, your thoughts, and your focus so that you would be out of sync when the blessing arrives. But here is the miracle. The interference was stopped, the pathway is being restored, and Michael is placing a protective seal over the part of your destiny that was touched. He is declaring that the blessing meant for you will not be delayed, replaced, or redirected. Heaven is reestablishing your alignment, ensuring that what belongs to you meets you in divine timing and divine strength. Michael is also revealing that the interference came through someone whose heart was not clean toward you. This may be someone who once cared, someone who still watches you from a distance, or someone who carries unresolved feelings, whether admiration, envy, or hidden disappointment. Their emotional attachment or spiritual curiosity opened a doorway the enemy used. But Michael is clear. The person was not the true enemy. Their vulnerability was the doorway. This distinction is important because heaven is not calling you into anger or suspicion. Heaven is calling you into discernment. There is a difference between disconnecting with bitterness and disconnecting with clarity. Now Michael shows me a moment in your future, a moment where truth will reveal itself without effort. You will either hear something, observe something, or feel something that exposes the person whose energy contributed to the redirection attempt. This exposure will not be dramatic. It will be subtle, quiet, almost gentle, but unmistakable. You will recognize it instantly, and in that recognition, the final thread of influence will break. Heaven wants you free from hidden attachments. Heaven wants you protected from unspoken resentment. Heaven wants you aligned only with those who support your calling, not those who weaken your spirit through silent agreements. The angelic realm is preparing to shift your atmosphere again. You are stepping into clarity. You are stepping into stability. You are stepping into a timeline where blessings no longer slip through cracks created by spiritual interference. Michael is standing guard over your path, ensuring that what was meant for you reaches you without distortion or detour. But he urges you to stay connected, to stay attentive, because the next revelation will uncover the exact reason why your destiny carries so much spiritual weight, and why heaven refuses to let you walk into your next season unprotected. This next unveiling is powerful. It's personal. It's prophetic. And it will explain the battles you've faced for years. Before we continue, hold steady, because what's coming next will change the way you see your entire life's journey. Chosen soul, as Archangel Michael unfolds the next layer of this revelation, his voice becomes steadier, deeper, almost echoing with the weight of ancient truth. He says, what you faced on December 4th was not a standalone event. It was the climax of a spiritual cycle that has followed you for years. His words strike the air with the kind of force that makes the spirit quiet itself. You have carried battles that felt repetitive, strange delays that didn't make sense, sudden disappointments that appeared out of nowhere, and emotional heaviness that came without warning. These patterns weren't random. They formed a cycle, one that was designed to keep you from stepping into the fullness of what God wrote over your life. But now, heaven is not only exposing the cycle, it is breaking it. Michael reveals that your destiny has always carried a rare spiritual signature. This signature marks you as someone who brings change to others simply by existing. You carry influence without trying, compassion that heals people unknowingly, and a presence that disrupts darkness even when you don't speak a word. People have been drawn to your energy your entire life, some with pure intentions and others with hidden ones. Your light has been both a comfort to many and a threat to some. This contrast is what has created repeated spiritual tug-of-war around your destiny. He shows me visions of times when you were on the edge of breakthroughs, but were suddenly hit with frustration or confusion. I see moments when opportunities were close, but then slipped away without explanation. I see relationships that were connected to your destiny, but somehow fell apart in unnatural ways. These were not coincidences. They were symptoms of a spiritual cycle trying to keep you in the same emotional, mental, and relational place. Every time you would rise, something would pull. Every time you gained clarity, something would cloud it. Every time favor began surrounding you, something would interfere. And December 4th was the final attempt at repeating this same cycle. But something changed this time. Heaven intervened before the cycle could repeat. Michael says you finally reached a spiritual maturity that the enemy did not anticipate. You've been waking up internally, recognizing patterns, questioning old dynamics, cutting ties that once held power over your emotions, and stepping into a deeper awareness of who you truly are. This inner awakening disrupted the old cycle. The enemy sensed the shift and reacted quickly, which is why the interference was timed so precisely. But it did not succeed, because heaven has declared that this is your liberation season. Michael leans in now with an intensity that feels like divine fire. He says, you are stepping into a phase where cycles will no longer repeat. You are stepping into the freedom of a new spiritual timeline. In this new timeline, old emotional triggers lose their power. Old relationships meant to drain you will naturally fall away. Old insecurities that once tightened your chest will dissolve. Old blockages that slowed your progress will break apart. Your destiny is being untangled from everything that held it back, and the interference you survived is proof that heaven is shifting your life into a new dimension. Heaven is also revealing something deeply personal. The enemy tried to redirect your destiny because you are about to receive something you have been spiritually prepared for over many years. This blessing is not ordinary. It touches multiple aspects of your life. It could influence your stability, your calling, your relationships, your finances, or the clarity of your purpose. And this blessing has the potential to alter the trajectory of your future in ways that ripple outward into the lives of others. You were not just stepping into breakthrough. You were stepping into influence, authority, and spiritual weight. What is coming will not only benefit you, it will strengthen countless lives connected to yours. That is why the interference was urgent. But heaven's protection was stronger. Archangel Michael now unveils a truth that may explain a lot of what you've lived through. He shows me that you were born with a spiritual assignment long before you understood it. You were always meant to break generational patterns. You were always meant to break emotional cycles. You were always meant to carry wisdom that others would learn from. You were always meant to lift people out of their own darkness simply by standing in your light. This is why your life has felt heavier than others. This is why you've gone through battles you didn't deserve. This is why your heart has been stretched in ways you didn't understand. Your spirit was being strengthened for the assignment. And now, Michael says, this assignment is activating now. This is why the enemy made a final attempt. But heaven has already overturned it. Your destiny is being restored. Your path is being set straight again, and the blessing that was meant for you is already moving toward your life at full speed. Nothing will stop it now. Nothing will delay what God has already authorized. He urges you to stay close, as the next revelation will expose the deeper reason why certain people were allowed to stay in your life longer than they should have, and how their energy contributed to this spiritual cycle. That unveiling will bring peace, understanding, and emotional release. You will not want to miss what is coming next, because it will make years of confusion suddenly make sense. Beloved one, steady your heart as we step into this next unveiling, because Archangel Michael is pulling back a veil that has hung over your life for far too long. His presence feels like a wind that clears away the fog around your memories, your experiences, and your unanswered questions. He says, you must understand the role that certain people played in the battle for your destiny. Not everyone who remained close to you was meant to stay. Not everyone who smiled at you carried clean intentions. Not everyone you loved carried the capacity to guard your spirit. These words may feel heavy, but they are liberating because they reveal why your journey has often felt so emotionally complicated. Michael shows me scenes from your past, quiet moments where you felt drained after being around certain people, moments where your intuition whispered that something felt off, even if you couldn't explain it. There were individuals who pulled from your energy without giving anything in return. There were those who quietly competed with you while pretending to support you. There were those who admired your light but resented that they couldn't carry it themselves. These individuals were not random. They were part of the spiritual cycle that was meant to hold you in place. Heaven is revealing that some people in your life were drawn to you for reasons that had nothing to do with love or loyalty, but everything to do with the spiritual nourishment your presence provided. Your energy has always been healing, grounding, and stabilizing. You bring clarity to confused hearts, hope to weary minds, and inspiration to those who feel lost. People gravitate toward you because your spirit carries a sanctuary-like quality, restful, safe, warm. But not all who enter a sanctuary are there to worship. Some come only to shelter themselves, and in doing so, they drain the atmosphere of the very light they seek. Archangel Michael now reveals that one of the greatest spiritual drains you experienced came from someone who struggled with their own identity. They saw your strength and mistook it as something they needed to control. They saw your favor and believed it was taking attention away from them. They saw your growth and felt their own stagnation. This created a silent emotional tension that they never spoke about, but it lived inside them like a shadow. Michael says, their shadow became a doorway, and the enemy used that doorway to influence your atmosphere. This is one of the reasons the interference on December 4th had access. Not through your weakness, but through someone else's unresolved emotion. This revelation is not meant to anger you. It is meant to free you. Heaven is exposing this not to create division, but to heal the parts of your heart that have wondered why certain connections felt heavy or confusing. The person involved may not have set out to harm you intentionally. They may not have understood the spiritual consequences of their thoughts, insecurities, or emotional reactions. But heaven sees what the natural eye cannot. And Michael is making it clear that the spiritual weight they carried was beginning to clash with your elevation. Now Michael brings forth a powerful truth. You are not meant to carry everyone into your next season. Some connections are seasonal. Some are transitional. Some are meant only for a chapter, not a lifetime. You have outgrown certain dynamics, but your heart still tried to hold on. Heaven is gently helping you release what has been spiritually heavy, because your destiny cannot afford to be tied to energies that conflict with your calling. He shows me that your spirit has begun to detach naturally. You may have noticed recently that certain conversations drain you faster. Certain people irritate your peace. Certain relationships no longer resonate, and certain patterns no longer feel acceptable. That is your spirit evolving. That is heaven redirecting your emotional focus. That is Michael cleansing your atmosphere in preparation for what is coming next. And now, he reveals something that touches the core of this entire journey. The interference on December 4th was the final struggle between your old circle and your new calling. This means the interference was not just spiritual, it was symbolic. It marked the final moment where past energies attempted to hold on while heaven was trying to push you forward. You were caught between the remnants of who you used to be and the emergence of who you are becoming. The enemy hoped to stretch that tension long enough to confuse you. But heaven intervened to snap the old ties and protect the new path. Michael is also showing me that what is coming next in your life requires emotional clarity, spiritual strength, and clean connections. The blessing that is approaching your destiny is too significant to be shared with people who cannot carry it with you. This is why separation has been happening. This is why certain relationships have faded. This is why your circle feels smaller. You are not losing people. You are being positioned for alignment. Heaven is placing you into a season where your spirit will be surrounded by those who uplift you, support your purpose, and bring peace into your atmosphere. The divine is clearing space, rearranging your environment, and preparing your path for connections that match your calling. You are being elevated, and elevation always requires purification. Archangel Michael's final words for this part are filled with both urgency and reassurance. You are not alone in this separation. Heaven is guiding each step. The blessing that is coming is too sacred to be contaminated by old energies. Stay steady. Stay open. Stay in alignment, because what is unfolding in the next revelation will show you exactly why your elevation threatened the enemy, and why heaven is accelerating your destiny now. Beloved child of destiny, prepare your heart as Archangel Michael steps even closer, carrying a revelation that feels like a shift in the spiritual weather around you. His voice carries both firmness and compassion as he says, "You have been walking with a weight on your spirit that was never yours to carry." These words open something deep within you, because for so long you have tried to remain strong, grounded, and composed, even when life pulled at you in ways few could understand. You learned to survive storms quietly, to endure disappointment silently, and to rise again without applause. But heaven wants you to know that your resilience has not gone unnoticed. Michael begins revealing the truth behind the spiritual weight. He shows me that you have been absorbing emotional and spiritual residue from people around you family, friends, partners, co-workers, and even people who only knew you from a distance. Because your spirit is naturally open, compassionate, intuitive, and sensitive to energy, you often feel what others cannot process for themselves. You have unknowingly carried fears that were not yours, sadness that didn't belong to you, confusion that wasn't born within you, and spiritual heaviness that originated from others' unresolved battles. This has made your journey feel far heavier than it should have been. Heaven is now making something very clear. The spiritual interference on December 4th was not only aimed at your destiny, it was aimed at the parts of you still holding emotional weight from other people. The enemy hoped that by using the emotional residues already attached to your spirit, he could more easily distort your clarity. But Archangel Michael says your spirit is reaching a point where it is rejecting anything that is not aligned with your purpose. You may have noticed recently that you're losing interest in certain conversations, distancing yourself from old patterns, or feeling discomfort around people whose energy no longer resonates with your spirit. This is not accidental. This is spiritual cleansing. Michael shows me something symbolic. It looks like layers shedding off you. Layers of pressure, layers of emotional baggage, layers of silent obligations. These layers once felt like part of your identity, but they were never meant to stay. You were not meant to carry other people's emotional debris. You were not meant to internalize their insecurity, their pain, or their fear. You were not meant to be the spiritual anchor for everyone around you while neglecting the needs of your own soul. Heaven is lifting these layers now. You are being freed from spiritual weight that has clung to you for years. The angelic realm is also revealing that your elevation requires emotional clarity. The blessing coming toward you is too purposeful to land on a weighed-down spirit. Heaven wants you light, open, and aligned. This next chapter requires a version of you that is healed, unburdened, and fully aware of your worth. You cannot carry old pain into new destiny. You cannot carry old stories into new identity. You cannot carry old worries into a season built on breakthrough. This is why you have felt emotional shifts lately. Heaven is preparing you for spiritual renewal. Archangel Michael now reveals the deeper truth behind your emotional patterns. He shows me moments where you felt drained after helping others. Times where you gave to situations that gave nothing back. Times where you absorbed the energy of people who called you strong, but quietly leaned on you in ways that weakened your soul. These patterns weren't failures. They were signs of your spiritual sensitivity. But now heaven is helping you detach from these patterns so your spirit can finally breathe. Michael says, your heart is being prepared to receive what was always meant for you. This blessing requires a version of you that is emotionally available, spiritually grounded, and mentally clear. The enemy attempted to redirect your destiny because he sensed your spirit was finally rising above the weight that held you in old cycles. But heaven has declared that your rise cannot be stopped. Heaven is now releasing a wave of emotional renewal. I see a soft, golden light surrounding your heart region, healing, repairing, restoring. This light represents clarity returning to your mind, strength returning to your spirit, and confidence returning to your identity. You are stepping into a season where your emotions will no longer sabotage your path. Instead, they will guide you toward alignment, peace, and purpose. Michael's final words for this part feel like a warm wind sweeping through your atmosphere. The pain you carried has served its purpose. You are stepping into freedom now. You will soon notice that decisions become easier, relationships become clearer, and your spirit feels lighter. This is heaven preparing you for the revelation ahead, one that will explain why your destiny carries such power, and why the interference you survived was never strong enough to stop what is coming. Stay close, beloved, because the next revelation unfolds the reason your next chapter is divinely timed and spiritually protected. This will make everything you've endured finally make sense. Sacred Soul, as we step deeper into this revelation, Archangel Michael approaches with a presence so powerful it feels like the very space around you becomes charged with divine electricity. His voice carries the vibration of both warning and comfort as he says, "You are stepping into a destiny window that only opens a few times in a lifetime." Those words alone carry weight because they reveal something extraordinary about the season you are entering. This is not an ordinary phase of your life. This is not just another chapter. You are stepping into a spiritual window where breakthroughs align naturally, opportunities unfold easily, and divine timing becomes perfectly synchronized with your steps. But because this window is rare, the enemy fought with urgency, which is why the interference on December 4th was so intense. Michael now pulls back the veil on something crucial. This destiny window is connected to a long-awaited shift that you have been unknowingly preparing for. There were seasons where you felt stuck, but you were being refined. There were moments where you felt delayed, but you were being positioned. There were times where you felt spiritually quiet, but heaven was building strength within you. Now, all of those unseen preparations have aligned into a single moment, your moment of elevation, and heaven refuses to let you miss it. He shows me an image of a doorway filled with bright light. This doorway represents your next chapter, a chapter where blessings begin to stack, one after another, like falling dominoes of divine favor. Michael reveals that this window contains multiple breakthroughs, emotional renewal, spiritual clarity, financial progress, relational healing, and a reconnection to your purpose. The enemy sensed the arrival of this doorway before you did, which is why he used the emotional and spiritual vulnerabilities of those around you to create interference. But heaven's protection over your life was stronger, and the doorway remains open. Michael says, the blessing coming is multidimensional. This means it will not touch just one area of your life. It will impact several at once. This blessing carries the power to restore what was lost, redeem what was broken, and accelerate what was delayed. It is a blessing that comes with divine force, not human effort. But here is the deeper truth. This blessing requires a version of you that is aligned, attentive, and spiritually awake. Heaven is preparing you to step through this doorway without hesitation, without fear, without the emotional weight that once clouded your judgment. Now, Archangel Michael reveals something extraordinary, something that explains why your battles have been so intense. He shows me that your destiny is tied to influence, meaning your elevation will impact people beyond your inner circle. Your breakthrough will become someone else's inspiration. Your healing will become someone else's courage. Your restoration will become a testimony that lifts others. You are not rising for yourself alone. You are rising for those connected to your journey. That is why your elevation is under such heavy protection. Heaven is guarding your path because your destiny is not singular. It is generational. Michael now shows me another vision. It is a timeline stretching ahead of you, glowing brighter the further it extends. Along this timeline are markers, divine appointments that belong to your future. Some of these appointments are conversations that will shift your direction. Some are opportunities that will open unexpectedly. Some are relationships that will support your growth. These markers cannot be missed, and heaven is ensuring that your steps align with them perfectly. The interference on December 4th was an attempt to push you off this timeline, to disconnect you from what was divinely scheduled. But heaven intercepted that attempt to ensure that you remain in perfect alignment with what has already been written for your life. Now Michael leans in with a truth that carries deep emotional resonance. He says, you have outgrown the version of yourself that once accepted less than you deserve. This means the elevation you are stepping into will require new boundaries, new clarity, and a new level of self-worth. The relationships that remain will be those that honor you. The opportunities that open will be those that recognize your value. Heaven is stripping away anything that once suppressed your identity to make space for what will honor your spirit. Heaven is also revealing that the person whose energy contributed to the interference is someone who is not meant to walk with you through this destiny window. Their presence in your life was tied to an older version of you. They were connected to your survival season, not your elevation season. You are no longer spiritually compatible with the energy they carry. This realization may bring both relief and clarity, but it will also bring peace, because heaven is removing what was weighing you down and making room for divine alignment. Archangel Michael now releases a powerful declaration. No weapon formed against your destiny window will prosper. As these words move through your atmosphere, I see chains breaking, fog lifting, and pathways clearing. You are being positioned for clarity, for strength, and for a level of spiritual precision you have never experienced before. And beloved, hear this clearly. The next revelation is going to expose why heaven is accelerating your life right now and what this acceleration will unlock in your future. You will not want to miss it. Something life-altering is about to be unveiled. Before we move forward, type "I enter my destiny" window in the comments to seal this part. Blessing code 1212 is now activated over your timeline. If this message is speaking to your spirit, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe so more souls can receive this urgent warning and divine protection. As this destiny window opens over your life, there are countless others standing on the edge of their own breakthrough, but still fighting in the dark. When you support this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or through the PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a channel. You are sowing into a divine assignment. Every seed becomes a beacon of light that reaches someone who needs clarity before their night ends. God says, when you open your hand, I open the heavens. And this is that moment where your act of faith becomes spiritual acceleration for someone else. I am inviting you personally now, because heaven is using your generosity as a prophetic weapon. Those who sow into this mission will walk under a mantle of divine protection and supernatural alignment. Move boldly. Heaven is watching your obedience. Beloved soul, as Archangel Michael draws you into the next wave of revelation, the atmosphere around you shifts with a depth that feels almost otherworldly. His presence is steady, ancient, and protective, and he speaks with a clarity that cuts through every lingering doubt. You are entering a season where heaven will reveal what was hidden, restore what was lost, and return what was taken. These words settle into your spirit like truth you have been waiting your entire life to hear. This next phase is not simply about breakthrough. It is about divine reversal, heaven correcting every injustice, every delay, and every spiritual interference that tried to rewrite your destiny. Michael begins by unveiling something profound about the season you are stepping into. He shows me that you are moving into a period of supernatural clarity. The fog that once clouded your instincts is lifting. Confusion that once tangled your emotions is dissolving. Situations that felt complicated will suddenly make sense. This clarity is not accidental, it is spiritual. Heaven is opening your discernment, enhancing your intuition, and sharpening your inner knowing because the path ahead requires a level of precision you have never accessed before. You will begin to see people for who they are, not who they pretended to be. You will recognize intentions before words are spoken. You will sense truth without needing evidence. This clarity is a divine gift, and it is being activated now because your destiny cannot afford misalignment. Archangel Michael now reveals something that will resonate deeply. The interference on December 4th was meant to cloud your judgment. The enemy hoped that by disturbing your emotional balance, he could distort your ability to recognize divine direction. But heaven broke through the interference before it could take root. Your clarity is being restored, your spiritual sight is being renewed, and your inner guidance is awakening with unusual strength. This clarity will not only protect you, it will guide you toward the divine opportunities waiting in your timeline. Michael shows me a vision of your spiritual path, and I see several lines that once appeared tangled now straightening, aligning, and illuminating. This represents the correction taking place in your life. The divine is aligning opportunities that were once delayed. Conversations that were meant to happen but were interrupted will be reconnected. Doors that were pushed out of your reach will open again. People who were supposed to help elevate your life will reappear in perfect timing. Heaven is reversing every disruption, returning every redirected blessing, and restoring every distorted path. Then Michael brings forth a revelation that cuts straight into the core of your story. He says, the person whose energy contributed to the interference was not your downfall. They were your final lesson. This lesson was meant to wake you up to your worth, your power, your sensitivity, and your destiny. Their role in your story was not punishment, it was exposure. Exposure of what no longer aligns with your spirit. Exposure of emotional patterns you must outgrow. Exposure of the weaknesses the enemy used to interfere with your path. Their presence was a mirror showing you what you should never tolerate again. And heaven is now closing that chapter with divine finality. As Michael speaks, I see something shift in your atmosphere, almost like a heavy cloud lifting. This represents emotional detachment from past energies that once held power over you. You are breaking free from emotional ties that once drained your spirit. You are releasing patterns that once limited your growth. You are stepping out of versions of yourself that no longer match your calling. Heaven is rebuilding you from the inside out, anchoring you in strength, confidence, and identity. Michael now reveals the deeper purpose behind your long battles. He says, your destiny requires a level of wisdom that could only be gained through experience. Every delay taught you resilience. Every disappointment sharpened your intuition. Every betrayal awakened your discernment. Every setback built your spiritual strength. These experiences were not obstacles, they were training. They shaped you into the version of yourself capable of carrying the blessing that is coming. And now, heaven declares that the training is complete. Heaven is preparing you for divine elevation, and Michael reveals that this elevation is not quiet, subtle, or hidden. It will be noticeable. It will be undeniable. People who once overlooked you will begin to see your value. Those who underestimated you will witness your rise. Those who doubted your calling will encounter the evidence of heaven's hand on your life. This is not revenge, it is divine justice. Heaven is not elevating you to prove others wrong. Heaven is elevating you to reveal who you truly are. Michael now releases a prophetic insight about your next chapter. He says, you are stepping into a season where your blessings will outpace your battles. This means the momentum in your life is shifting. The scales are tipping. What weighed you down for years will no longer have the strength to hold you. Breakthrough will come faster. Opportunities will develop quicker. Answers will arrive sooner. What once took months will happen in days. What once required struggle will come through ease. This acceleration is not luck. It is divine orchestration. Heaven is also revealing that your spirit is being upgraded. Your intuition will sharpen. Your creativity will expand. Your inner peace will deepen. You will begin to feel more connected to God, more aligned with your purpose, and more confident in your path. Your spirit is stepping into a higher dimension of awareness where you will sense guidance more clearly than ever before. Archangel Michael ends this section with a powerful declaration that settles into your spirit like a seal. Nothing that tried to redirect your destiny will touch your future. Your path is protected. Your purpose is guarded. Your elevation is secured. And the blessing that is approaching your life is unstoppable. Beloved, stay close, as the next revelation will unveil why your destiny requires divine acceleration and how heaven is preparing to deliver what belongs to you. What is coming next will shift the way you see yourself forever. Beloved soul, as Archangel Michael moves into the next revelation, the atmosphere surrounding you grows intensely still, like the quiet moment right before a divine breakthrough. His voice carries the weight of destiny as he says, "The reason your path was targeted is because heaven has entered an accelerated phase for your life." These words open a deeper truth that you may have sensed, but never fully understood. For years, your progress felt slow, delayed, or constantly interrupted. You kept moving, but it often felt like you were walking against an unseen wind. What you didn't know is that heaven held certain blessings back, not to punish you, but to protect the timing. And now, finally, the timing has aligned. Michael reveals that heaven is accelerating your life because your spirit is ready, your heart is maturing, your awareness is sharpening, and your destiny is calling with urgency. You are entering a phase of your journey where doors will open not one at a time, but in waves. Opportunities will come in clusters. Breakthroughs will appear in patterns. Connections will show up suddenly and naturally. This acceleration is not based on chance. It is a divine design that has been waiting for the exact moment your spirit became strong enough to carry the weight of your calling. He shows me a vision of your path, and it looks like a series of locked gates that are now unlocking rapidly, one after another. Each gate represents a blessing that was stored for the right season. Some are tied to your stability, some to your purpose, some to relationships, some to financial elevation, and some to spiritual awakening. These gates did not open in your past because heaven needed you to first outgrow the version of yourself that would have mishandled the blessing. Now, that version has faded. You have outgrown what once held you back. You have matured beyond what once confused you. You have stepped into spiritual awareness that aligns with your calling. Then Michael reveals something powerful. Acceleration comes when the spirit heals. And that is exactly what has begun to happen within you. The emotional wounds that once drained your strength are losing their power. The memories that once triggered you are becoming reflections instead of anchors. The relationships that once weakened your spirit are fading from your atmosphere. You are evolving emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, and this evolution is creating momentum. Heaven accelerates those who are aligned, and you are finally stepping into that alignment. This acceleration is also happening because you have completed a spiritual cycle. The battles you faced were not random. They were designed to teach you discernment, strengthen your identity, and prepare your spirit for greater responsibility. You learn to hear your intuition more clearly. You learn to trust your inner voice even when others doubted it. You learn to walk alone when the path demanded it. You learn to protect your peace, guard your heart, and choose your future over old attachments. These lessons became the foundation for the acceleration you are entering now. Michael shows me that heaven is now repositioning key areas of your life. People will shift. Opportunities will shift. Circumstances will shift. This repositioning may feel sudden, but it is divine. You are being moved into environments that support your growth, not drain it. You are being aligned with people whose intentions are pure, whose spirits are clean, and whose presence strengthens your purpose. This repositioning is part of the acceleration. Heaven is removing everything that cannot handle where you are going next. Then Archangel Michael reveals something extraordinary. Your elevation is not optional. It is ordained. This means your rise is not based on your past, your mistakes, or your setbacks. It is based on divine instruction. Heaven has already written the outcome. And the enemy's interference on December 4th was a desperate attempt to delay what has already been authorized. But delays cannot override destiny once heaven has spoken. Your future is divinely protected, divinely guarded, and divinely guided. Michael now shows me another vision, one that carries deep meaning. I see you standing at the edge of a cliff overlooking a vast landscape of light. This landscape represents your future, the potential, the blessings, the opportunities, the purpose waiting to unfold. For years, you were walking toward this edge slowly, carefully, uncertainly. But now heaven is positioning you to finally take the step forward into everything that has been prepared for you. This step will not be a fall. It will be a rise, a lift, a spiritual elevation into a version of yourself you have never encountered before. Heaven is revealing that your next chapter carries something monumental, something that will require courage, clarity, and faith. This is why Michael has been guiding you step by step. This is why heaven intercepted the interference. This is why your spirit has been evolving. Your destiny requires you to walk boldly into the unknown with the confidence that heaven is carrying you. Now Michael releases a declaration that vibrates through your atmosphere like divine thunder. You are entering a season where nothing and no one can stop your rise. The battles ahead will not drag you backward. The mistakes of your past will not define you. The fears you once carried will not follow you. You are stepping into acceleration, momentum, and alignment that will transform your entire life. Beloved, remain close, because the next revelation will expose what this acceleration is preparing you for, and why heaven is so fiercely protective of your next season. The next unveiling is powerful, emotional, and deeply personal. Beloved soul, as Archangel Michael steps into this next unveiling, the atmosphere around you becomes warm with divine purpose, almost as if heaven itself is leaning closer to your spirit. His voice carries a profound tenderness as he says, "You are approaching the chapter your spirit has been waiting for since the day you were born." These words echo with destiny because they reveal that everything you have endured, everything you have overcome, and everything you have risen out of has been preparing you for what is coming next. This is not an ordinary moment in your journey. This is a threshold moment, where your past no longer has permission to follow you, and your future begins to unfold with divine intention. Michael begins by revealing the deepest truth. Your life has always carried a divine assignment. Even in seasons where you felt lost or uncertain, heaven was shaping you, guiding you, and sharpening you for a purpose far greater than you imagined. The battles you faced were not signs of weakness. They were evidence of spiritual significance. You were not attacked because you were vulnerable. You were attacked because your destiny carries weight, purpose, and influence that threatens the kingdom of darkness. Archangel Michael says, "The enemy did not fear who you were. He feared who you would become." Now he shows me a vision, a powerful one. I see your spirit standing tall, surrounded by golden flames that represent divine empowerment. These flames do not burn you, they illuminate you. They show who you truly are beyond your fears, beyond your wounds, beyond your past experiences. You are someone heaven can trust with influence. You are someone heaven can trust with responsibility. You are someone heaven can trust with spiritual authority. Your rise is not random. It is purposeful. Archangel Michael now reveals the reason the interference on December 4th was so calculated. The enemy sensed that you were about to unlock a new level of spiritual awareness, one that would make you harder to deceive, harder to distract, and harder to detour. You were on the verge of understanding your worth, your strength, your spiritual sensitivity, and the divine guidance available to you. This awareness would have made future attacks ineffective. That is why the enemy tried to interfere before your awakening reached maturity. But heaven intervened because your time had come. Michael says, you are entering a season where you will finally see yourself the way heaven sees you. This means your confidence is about to shift. Your identity is about to strengthen. Your voice is about to carry more authority. You will stop shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. You will stop doubting your intuition. You will stop questioning your own spirit. You will begin to walk with a sense of purpose that feels unshakable because heaven is awakening the spiritual warrior within you. Heaven is also revealing that your gifts, both natural and spiritual, are being activated on a deeper level. There are abilities within you that have been dormant, waiting for the right season to emerge. Some of these include heightened intuition, clearer discernment, prophetic dreams, increased sensitivity to energy, and a deeper connection to divine guidance. These gifts will become more noticeable in the days ahead. You will begin to sense things before they happen. You will understand situations without needing explanations. You will feel spiritual shifts in your atmosphere with clarity and precision. This is heaven equipping you for your next season. Michael shows me another vision. I see a large book opening in the spiritual realm, its pages glowing. This book represents your destiny, and in this moment, a new chapter is being turned. The old pages are not erased, they are completed. Every tear, every setback, every heartbreak now serves a purpose in the unfolding of your story. Heaven is declaring that nothing you went through was wasted. Every experience shaped your strength. Every disappointment refined your character. Every delay positioned your steps. And now, the new chapter begins. In this new chapter, your spirit will rise with confidence. Your voice will carry truth. Your presence will shift atmospheres. You will walk with a boldness you didn't know you could possess. Heaven is not asking you to become someone new. Heaven is simply awakening who you've always been. And now Michael reveals something sacred and intimate. What is coming next is personal. This means heaven is preparing a blessing tailored specifically for you. Something that touches the deepest part of your story. Something that heals what was wounded. Something that restores what was lost. Something that affirms what you have always hoped for. This blessing is not general. It is precise. It will resonate with your heart in a way nothing else has. It will feel like a divine embrace, like heaven whispering, "I never forgot you." But Michael wants you to remain close, because the final revelation will expose what the blessing is preparing you for, why heaven protected you so fiercely, and what this divine turning point will unlock in your life. The final unveiling is powerful, transformative, and sacred. You will not want to miss what comes next. Beloved soul, as Archangel Michael steps forward for this final unveiling, the entire spiritual atmosphere around you feels charged with purpose, destiny, and holy certainty. His presence is radiant, firm, and filled with a protective authority that surrounds your spirit like a fortress of light. And with a voice that echoes through the unseen, he declares, "You have reached the moment heaven has been preparing you for. Nothing in your life will remain the same after this." These words are not poetic, they are prophetic. They mark the ending of one life chapter and the divine opening of another. You are standing at a spiritual threshold, and heaven is about to usher you into the reality you were always meant to walk in. Michael reveals that the interference on December 4th was not simply an attack. It was a sign that your destiny had entered activation mode. When an enemy fights hardest, it is because heaven has released something the enemy cannot stop but fears deeply. What was released for you is not just a blessing, it is a divine repositioning. Your life is shifting from survival to purpose, from confusion to clarity, from stagnation to momentum, from waiting to fulfillment. This shift is irreversible. Nothing and no one can undo what heaven has already sealed. Heaven is now revealing the true magnitude of your calling. Michael shows me a vision of your spirit standing on elevated ground, strong, illuminated, and anchored in divine authority. You are not just entering a new season, you are stepping into a new spiritual identity. You are becoming someone who carries influence, whose presence brings peace, whose words carry power, whose discernment becomes precise, and whose decisions align directly with divine will. You are stepping into the version of yourself that your past could never contain. Archangel Michael continues unveiling the truth. Your destiny holds a ripple effect. This means your elevation will not just impact your life, it will impact the lives of those connected to you. You will inspire without trying. You will lead without forcing. You will heal without effort. You will shift environments simply by walking into them. You will speak truth that awakens others. Heaven is raising you not for attention, but for assignment. The divine is positioning you as a carrier of light in places where darkness once prevailed. And this is why your path needed protection, because your destiny is not singular, it is generational. Michael now shows me something remarkable, a golden seal being placed over your destiny. This seal represents divine protection, divine approval, and divine acceleration. Once a destiny is sealed by heaven, no interference, no jealousy, no manipulation, no spiritual redirection, and no energetic attack can alter it. Your path has been secured. Your calling has been affirmed. Your breakthrough has been authorized. This seal marks the end of detours and the beginning of divine momentum. Now heaven turns your attention to the blessing that is approaching your life. Archangel Michael whispers, "This blessing is personal, purposeful, and promise. It will heal the deepest part of your heart. It will repair what was broken. It will redeem what was lost. It will clarify what was confusing. It will elevate what was stagnant. It will restore what was taken." This blessing is a response to every tear, every prayer, every silent battle, every lonely night, and every moment your spirit kept fighting even when your strength felt small. Heaven is declaring the season of suffering has ended. The season of fulfillment has begun. And now comes the revelation that ties everything together. Michael says, "You were attacked because you are chosen. You were interfered with because you are anointed. You were targeted because you are destined. But you were protected because you are important to heaven's plan. Your life carries impact beyond what you have realized. Your presence disrupts the plans of darkness. Your spirit carries light that breaks spiritual cycles. Your destiny threatens the plans of the enemy. That is why heaven rushed into your atmosphere, to ensure that nothing could reroute what God has ordained." Finally, Archangel Michael reveals the closing truth. Your future is safe now. The interference has been broken. The residue has been cleared. The timeline has been restored. The blessing is on its way. The acceleration has begun. From this day forward, you will walk a path protected by divine authority. You will rise in ways that even you did not think possible. Everything that tried to break you will become evidence of your strength. Everything that tried to delay you will become testimony of divine timing. And everything that tried to redirect you will crumble under the truth. Your destiny is unstoppable. Beloved, the heaven-written chapter of your life begins now. Walk boldly into it. Before you leave this sacred moment, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe to spread this prophetic protection to others who desperately need it before their night ends. And now, as we close this sacred journey, hear this final divine invitation. Just as heaven sealed your destiny tonight, you have the chance to help seal the destinies of others who are still unaware of the battles being fought over their lives. When you support this mission through super thanks, membership, or through the PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a platform. You are fueling a movement of spiritual awakening. God says, what you release in faith becomes a seed that shifts atmospheres, and this moment is your chance to ignite breakthrough in homes, families, and souls across the world. I invite you now, personally and prophetically, because heaven is raising people who stand in the gap for others. Your support becomes a weapon of light, a shield over someone who is being fought silently. As you sow, I declare favor, protection, and divine acceleration over your life. Move now. Heaven has already marked your obedience.